Oscar Piastri is definitely one of the hottest topics this summer break. After the move, he pulled to Alpine and publicly denied a seat in the fourth best performing team currently. He signed with McLaren and had to wait a couple of weeks before the CRB to rule out in his favour. He will race for the team in 2022 and 2023, and many people and experts believe that there would be some sparks flying between Piastri and Ricciardo as the unexpected turn of events saw the 8-time race winner losing his starting seat to a younger countryman of his. Regardless, Piastri has finally spoken up about Ricciardo, and the older Aussie has spoken about Piastri too, as well as about Mark Webber, who's currently managing Piastri and the driver that Ricciardo replaced in Red Bull back in 2014. Want to find out more? Stick around with us until the end of this video. Ricciardo's slump of form in 2021 and 2022 wasn't something that McLaren had the will to continue with, as it became evident that they were looking for solutions elsewhere. What they found in Piastri is truly amazing, as they hadn't invested a single minute of his development, and they've been able to poach him away from the fiercest rivals, Alpine. Ricciardo had one hell of an uncomfortable talk with McLaren when it comes to the buyout terms, and the fact that McLaren signed a prenup deal with Piastri back on the 4th of July speaks volumes about the determination of the team to get rid of Ricciardo's lucrative contract. When they signed the Aussie back in 2021, he was coming off a P5 season in the Drivers' Championship, and it was a season where he won 2 podiums for Renault, now known as Alpine. Therefore, many thought that the team is willing to sign Ricciardo back since they have already had a good history behind them, but that is not the case, as Ricciardo is now struggling to find a seat in F1 for the 2023 season. It seems like the only places available for him are Haas and Williams, and the main reason why is that nobody believes these two teams are just a slump in the performance, but rather a downfall of a driver. Still, Oscar Piastri has been silent until the whole saga was solved in his favour, and he spoke recently about Ricciardo and his fellow countrymen, saying, "I was planning on getting in touch myself, but with the timing of things, he was obviously at races. Quite frankly, I didn't know if he wanted to hear from me. I was trying to think of what to say, but he beat me to it. That was a true professional. My respect for him was always already extremely high, and it's only gotten higher in the way he responded. Him getting in touch like that was great for me personally, knowing that there were no hard feelings. That really helps me quite a lot, and it was good to get in touch. It was a nice moment. If I can get closer to emulating the success he's had on track and the character he is off the track, I think I'll be doing a reasonable job," finished Piastri. Piastri also spoke about the number that he plans to wear in F1, and it's quite interesting as a choice, if we must add. When talking about why he chose number 81, Piastri said, "So 81 was the number I had in karting. The story of how I got 81 is particularly interesting, but I'll explain it anyway. Basically, when I did my first race, I had to pick a number for my first race, and the kart shop I went to only had number 1s in stock. It had to be 1 or a 2-digit number, and I obviously couldn't be the number 1 for obvious reasons, so I was actually number 11 for my first couple of races. Then we entered, I think it was the Victorian state titles, and somebody had already entered as number 11, so I don't know what inspired me to pick 81, but I changed the first number for a number 8, and it's stuck ever since. It's still unclear as to when the Aussie will make his debut with McLaren, as he is still under contract with Alpine. However, it's worth mentioning that Piastri has been released from official duties with the team at GP events. There have been discussions that led to Piastri being released earlier from his contract so that he can make his debut with McLaren at one of the FP1 sessions, but as of now, these are just rumours and nothing else. Even Piastri himself said this, adding, "I'm not sure yet, and we don't know. It's obvious something we've discussed with Alpine at the moment. But yeah, as of right now, I don't know when or what the rest of the year holds." However, Alpine still holds a massive grudge towards Piastri, and the boss, Laurent Rossi, said that he has no idea why Piastri thought he was bigger than Williams and he refused a seat for the 2023 season. Alpine was working towards a deal that would send Piastri to Williams until Alonso has retired so that he could replace the 2-time world champion once he decides that enough is enough. But one couldn't help but notice that Piastri has been treated as a bargaining chip in this whole conversation with Alpine, as they used him to try and pursue Alonso's signature on a 1+1 deal with the team. Now that Alonso has replaced the retiring Vettel in Aston Martin on a 3-year contract, $15 million each, it's evident that Alpine has yet again messed up their own strategy, judging with their opinions and losing both of them in a timeline of 48 hours. Nevertheless, Ricciardo's question is still up in the air, and the older Rossi spoke about his younger countryman, saying that he does understand how these things work and it's nothing personal for him, as he added, "I've spoken to Oscar and just made sure that there is no bad feelings there. I understand how this works. He's trying to make it. He's trying to get into Formula 1. This moment should be really big for him. I don't want to make it a bad situation for him, and that's that. It's nothing personal, so that's all the conversation was. I truly do wish him well. I want him to have a good run in Formula 1. Obviously he's a lot younger than me, so I don't know maybe how he feels, if he's nervous to reach out and see how I'm doing. Also, I wanted to make sure that it was clear that I understand his position and absolutely no hard feelings. So yeah, that was good. I think it made him feel better, and I think the last thing he wanted was to have some weird tension between a few of the only Australians that have ever been in the sport, so I'm glad that we've done that, said Ricciardo. Ricciardo also spoke about Oscar's manager Mark Webber, the driver that he replaced in the Red Bull back in 2014, saying that there isn't any point in having this conversation since this is how the sport actually works, and Ricciardo himself understands that better than anybody else. As he said, I feel like he didn't need to, but he felt like he wanted in a way to apologize and try to just see how I'm doing. I know how this sport is, it's nothing personal to me, and he wanted to make sure that I knew that and understood that, and just to make sure that I felt okay. He feels really bad, obviously, how it's gone down and obviously how things are put out there in the media, and that. It was nice to speak to him, finished Ricciardo. So what's next for Ricciardo? It seems like his struggles to secure a seat, at least a starting one in 2023, will continue in the upcoming period. There are some seats available such as Haas or Williams, but both of these teams aren't really eager to make it work with the Aussie. Plus, it's highly unlikely that he'll take that big of a pay cut just to drive an F1, although according to us, that's exactly what he should do. This has been pointed out by Jacques Villeneuve, a former F1 champion, who also spoke about the possibility that Ricciardo will sit out the 2023 season and conquer for a seat in 2024, saying it could make him lazy. You can take a year off if you're an Alonso, a Schumacher, if you've been world champion and won a lot of races, if you know in the paddock that you'll always be at your best no matter what season. After 4 bad years, you don't do that. You take what you can get. If you have an offer to drive in Formula 1, then you take every cockpit. In public you will say, you don't want to drive for one of the back teams, but if that's the only contract you can get, then you'll sign it, finished Jacques. But according to Horner, Ricciardo's former boss, he doesn't understand why Alpine hasn't considered him as the favourite for the seat, adding, I think I probably would go with Ricciardo, to be honest with you. They obviously know him from a couple of seasons ago, and he was very together during his last season there, scoring podiums, and I think he's the type of guy that I think you could rebuild him. It's obviously not been a great experience for him at McLaren for whatever reason, but you just have to think back to some of the drives he did for us, some of the wins he had, the podiums, some of the stunning overtakes he was capable of. That's still there, I'm sure. He just needs a bit of a reset. You don't just forget how to deliver, so I hope for him he gets another opportunity and gets himself back on the grid for next year, finished Horner. With that being said, it's quite evident that Ricciardo's place in 2022 is an endangered one. What do you think will happen next with the Aussie? Do you think he'll manage to secure a seat somewhere in the upcoming period? Let us know in the comments below.